I would like to extend a warm welcome to all members of the Cabinet, other members of the Council, members of the public and officers in attendance at today's Cabinet meeting of the 1st of July 2026. Welcome to members of the public and press who may be watching the meeting live on YouTube. I am Councillor Jill Cleary, Leader of the Council and Chairman of the Cabinet. I would now like to hand over to Democratic Services to read the housekeeping note.
Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's website and on YouTube. It will remain available for a minimum of 12 months. I would remind those in attendance to please use your microphones when speaking, but do also remember to switch them off when you have finished. Please switch any mobile phones and laptops to a silent setting for the duration of the meeting. If the fire alarms ring, please can everyone leave the room immediately and use the nearest fire exit, but do not use the lift. Please go to the fire assembly point located at the bottom of the car park by the garages. Thank you.
Please would members introduce themselves during the meeting if not already introduced by name. Apologies. One from Councillor Jeff Blunden. Item 1, Leaders' Announcements. Against a backdrop of local government reorganisation work and the challenges caused by the recent heatwave, our teams have continued to support residents, businesses and communities across the Forest. I was fortunate to recently attend the New Forest Business Show, a fantastic event and a real showcase of the strength of our diverse business community. Our stand was busy throughout the day, with officers providing advice, making connections and highlighting the support we have available. What stood out most was the strong appetite for businesses to grow, innovate and develop their workforce, which is where our revised economic development strategy will play a significant part in setting out a clear plan for the next 5 years to help drive jobs, support businesses, attract investment and strengthen our town centres, ensuring New Forest is well placed for the future. Following approval by this Cabinet last month, the strategy will come before full council later this month. We are also encouraging community groups, charities, schools and other organisations to apply for funding, with up to £100,000 available to support infrastructure projects from 2027. The funding is available through the Community Grant Infrastructure Levy and applications can be submitted until the 7th of August. So please do encourage your constituents to apply for funding. This council supported the Armed Forces Week by welcoming our ex-forces staff and officers from the 17th Port and Maritime Regiment, RLC. In a small ceremony led by our chairman, who raised the Armed Forces flag in the grounds of Appletree Court. And finally, I was so very proud to be at our recent staff event where we celebrated their wonderful work with an awards ceremony. I spent a joyful few hours reading through all the fantastic nominations that were put forward for an award, and it was one of the most heartwarming things I have done. We have an incredible team here at NFDC, and it was a privilege to acknowledge so many services and outstanding individuals who support residents and make the district a wonderful place to live, work and thrive. Item 2, minutes. Do Cabinet members agree the minutes of the meeting held on June the 3rd as a correct record?
Agreed.
Item 3, declarations of interest. Do Cabinet members have any declarations of any pecuniary or any other interests in respect of the business for this meeting? None. Public participation? None. So, item 5, corporate plan key performance data for quarter 4, 2025 to 2026 and target refresh for 26 to 27. So, this report with the dashboard continues to provide a valuable measure of progress against the objectives set out in our corporate plan. It is encouraging to note that performance remains strong, reflecting our ongoing commitment to delivering positive outcomes for our residents. And I am pleased to see the refinement of targets and the updating of performance indicators to ensure that our measures remain meaningful, challenging, and aligned with the evolving operating environment. I'd like to take you now to SAC, our Performance and Insight Manager. SAC.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Just a couple of useful points, I think, for Cabinet arising from the panels. The Q4 dashboard was presented to all three panels, prompting a constructive and engaging discussion. Comments are included in the covering report. All panels had been directed to comment on the measures specific to them. You will note from the report that Place and Sustainability requested an updated metric for net dwelling supply, and Housing and Communities requested the inclusion of electrical safety checks in their safety compliance measures. The Resources and Transformation panel was last week, and so I would just update that there were helpful deep dive conversations around the dashboard. The reports were noted with some additional questions directed to HR committee. The service have proposed to revise the household waste to a cumulative figure rather than a quarter on quarter, and so have given an updated target to me. A fly tipping target is waited and being considered by the service. Happy to take any questions before moving back to the recommendation. Thank you.
Let's go to Cabinet. Cabinet, do you have any questions or comments you wish to make? None? Thank you. Let's open it to the floor. I've got Councillor Philip Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. It's a comment rather than a question. I'm just a little bit concerned about in People 8, the dashboard, number of education and awareness sessions in relation to serious crime, and it's not applicable. I'm sure I'm not alone in councillors who are getting increasing casework from people who are victims of financial crime and fraud. And I'm curious to know, are there sessions, awareness sessions and education sessions happening across the forest to help our more vulnerable residents who are victims in an increasing amount of these sorts of crimes? Thank you.
SAC, can you enlighten us, please?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the question. So I think the most insightful part of this measure really is the narrative provided within the metric, which details a programme of activity that's planned for the year. The reason why it's not applicable is because it's a monitor KPI, and that really reflects that some of the delivery is really out of the direct NFDC control and is delivered by our partners with our support. So hence, we haven't applied a RAG rating to it.
Okay, thank you. I hope that explains that. Anybody else? No? Okay. Can I take you to the recommendations on page 3? Do you agree? Sorry, Kate Ryan.
Hi, just on the recommendations, I just wanted to be clear on the Cabinet consider the matters arising from overview and scrutiny panels, that there's a few suggestions in there for improving the KPIs, which it says you like agree subject to Cabinet. So just to be clear that you're agreeing that work is taken on in line with the feedback from the overview and scrutiny panels when you're approving the dashboard, which I think is what the intent is.
Cabinet, are you happy with that?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes? Lovely. Okay, so I'll read them out just for clarity for members watching on YouTube. Cabinet approved the Q4 2025 to 26 dashboard as well as the target refresh. Cabinet consider any matters arising from the overview and scrutiny panels. Do you agree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 6. Item 6, Corporate Plan Annual Performance Report 2025 to 2026. We know how challenging the past year has been with an ever-increasing focus on LGR, So the annual report represents a great opportunity to celebrate our many and significant achievements. It sets out examples of achievements against each of our priorities and reflects on the feedback from the CPC follow-up visit that recognised our performance. I'm very proud that in the current local government context, we continue to deliver excellent services for our residents. Once again, I would like to take you to SAC, Performance and Insight Manager. SAC.
Thank you so much. I think that the introduction credits the report as our sort of really the headlines and stories behind the dashboard, really. And I have on my right colleague Donna Langfield, who I'd like to credit with much of the authoring and putting together of the information contained within the report.
Cabinet, do you wish to make any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Then let's go to the floor. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. The corporate plan is the guide by which the council runs its plan. And, you know, there's lots of positivity in this. Now, the question I'm going to ask is really not coming from a political position. This is coming from a logical management position. As we go through LGR, which we are, and we're rolling out the last 2 years of this council, a lot of this isn't really relevant, is it? Do we not need to review our corporate plan for the final 2 years of the council to take into account the massive challenge this authority and its staff are facing, the potential fallout for our residents, and really, I mean, to not do that is a bit like Nero fiddling as Rome burns, carry on as normal, not accepting the reality of the situation. The positive things in there are clear and transparent. But the plan is the guide for the council, and the next two years are going to be very different to the previous years. So a review, taking into account the challenges that we have, to me, it makes common sense that it's a logical management tool for how we will move forward as an authority. And I just put that to the Cabinet because all of the let's carry on as normal isn't really relevant in a new environment. Should we not be looking, without spending too much extra work, because there's a lot that's got to be done, at some form of review to see how we manage the next 2 years for the benefit of New Forest residents? Thank you.
Okay, firstly, I'm going to answer that. I promise I am not Nero fiddling around. We are all working really hard, and as you understand, we have already reprioritised some of our corporate plan priorities last year following the Corporate Peer Challenge, because they said LGR is coming, you need to, rethink. We have done that. We are, of course, keeping them under review. We've got the council-wider PMO, which has enabled the Cabinet and the senior management to ensure our limited resources are aligned to our agreed policies, but also that we deliver what is most important, and we have the resource for the new challenges we face, ensuring successful representation and a New Forest voice heard on both unitaries. So, Councillor Heron.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank Councillor Wade for highlighting the incredibly difficult position we find ourselves in. It is a two-pronged approach. We have a great deal to do with LGR, especially given the government's decision to make it even more complicated for us by splitting us down the middle and dividing off. So that is strand one. But equally, we have no certainty. We have the government keep referring to certainty in the timetable, but then I think they did on the mayoral elections, and look what happened there. So we equally, whilst having this incredibly difficult job to do of working towards an LGR where we devolve into two new authorities, we must also have a plan for business as usual, because if anything falls over, delays, or there are setbacks, it would be daft if we all stood here going, and now what do we do? So I thank him for highlighting the difficulties that we find ourselves under, and that we are working very hard to deliver on both areas, both LGR and the business as usual, which is also important, especially as we still have quite a few days of our life left, as we don't end until 2028, get the right number.
We shall not die until 28.
28. Notably the 1st of April. I think that's very, 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 very meaningful for government. But yes, so it is very difficult. We need to have our eye on not just one ball, not two balls, but three to manage to juggle our way through this.
Okay, I should take lessons. Right, anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Alan Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to agree very strongly with what this council's doing. As Councillor Wade said, it's a management choice. But I'm saying this as a fully qualified member of the Chartered Management Institute. We are having 2 years, and it's not the end of the world. It might feel like it, but it's not the end of the world. We want our thoughts and our wishes to go forward to the two authorities we're going to be joining, so as we have some influence. We don't wish to wander into the abyss blind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Then can I take you to the recommendations on page 37, that the Cabinet review the corporate plan, annual performance report 25 to 26, and approve publishing to our website. Do you all agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Right, item 7, annual complaints performance and service improvement plan 2025 to 2026. And Jeremy, I think I'm going to go to you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, this report covers all complaints across all services for the last year. The annual report shows that across both services we continue to increase in the number of complaints. As a council, we want the complaints procedure to be easily accessible for residents. And it is important that where residents express dissatisfaction, that this is dealt with in accordance with our procedures. The report explores the impact of the waste service, which obviously has made a significant difference in the rollout of our waste service, has made a significant difference in the volume of complaints that we have seen, and that will perhaps still impact as we have only just rolled out phase 3 in May of this year. The council continues to meet the complaints handling codes of both local government and social care ombudsman and the housing ombudsman, because we're lucky we have two, and is shown by the self-assessments against the codes included within the report. As the member responsible for complaints, we receive regular updates on the council's complaints handling, and the annual report provides the opportunity for wider member scrutiny from both panel members and members of the Cabinet as the governing body. Thank you.
I'd also like to take you to Councillor Steve Davis.
Thank you. From a housing perspective, the annual report is an important document to provide analysis of our complaint handling performance, particularly where complaints have been received by the council in its capacity as the landlord, which falls under the jurisdiction of the housing ombudsman. The annual report will be published on the council's website and submitted to the housing ombudsman meeting the requirements of the ombudsman's complaint handling code. The housing service continues to be committed to dealing effectively with complaints from tenants and learning from complaints, and I underline here to drive service improvements for the benefit of all our tenants. Thank you.
Right, do any other Cabinet members wish to make any comments? Councillor Derek Tipp.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I want to focus on the very many compliments that this council's received at the end of this report. I thought that was really heartening, and it shows you what a lot of very caring people work in our departments and go the extra mile to do things that are really very, very useful. and very helpful indeed. It's a shame in a way that we have to sort of redact their names, because I'm sure they would love to receive that praise personally. But anyway, I think we should thank them all.
Thank you, noted. Anybody else? Right, I shall now open it to the floor. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it is a very good complaints report. And I have a wry smile when Councillor Tipp mentions only the compliments, but there were some very positive things said there. The bit I particularly liked was the learning stage, because no organisation is perfect. And the way you get better is learning when things go wrong, because you learn more from a failure than a success. So the fact that we've taken that on board, I think, is a very positive sign. And actually, that's a sign that you're doing something right, because you're learning for when it goes wrong. And the compliments are all good, but they're the real learning tool to get better. So that's a bit of a positive there for you.
I think you can say the learning happened after phase 1 and then phase 2 in the waste rollout, and now phase 3. It has gone so much better. So we definitely have listened and learned. Councillor Steve Clark.
Thank you, Leader. The housing panel really did test this subject when it came before them, and looked at in depth at a number of areas. And it's very easy to look at headline figures like an increase in complaints, but if you've got to look at it in terms of the national picture as well. Right the way across the UK, complaints are increasing, and that's for a multitude of reasons, which in some ways has to be viewed as positive, because it means that we are listening to people. And that's part and parcel of what the complaints system is about, to listen to people. As Malcolm Wade just said, it's about learning as well. And there is a clear commitment for us to learn. But the headline figure says an increase. But if you actually look at it in conjunction with the total number of services, etc., delivered, and the percentage of the complaints that we received, it is a very tiny figure. Any figure is significant in terms of complaints, but let's put the balance down and say we actually do provide a good service, and in a very small percentage of cases we're not perfect, but we learn from them.
Thank you. And sorry, Jamie, I forgot to come to you as the officer. So can I introduce Jamie Hollis, Interim Assistant Director Legal. Do you have any comments you may wish to add?
Thank you, Chair. Well, the discussion's kind of progressed along similar lines to what I was going to say, but as we know, there are 2 Ombudsman codes that we need to comply with. This report is one of those obligations on the Council. We also are obliged to undertake self-assessments against the codes. And also, Cabinet as a governing body is required to approve a response to the annual report, which is at Appendix 3 before you. The only other thing I was going to say was there were a couple of sections within the actual report itself to direct members' attention to. In particular, Section 5 provides an overview of the number of complaints received, which you've already referred to, the complaint findings, themes, timescales. Section 6 includes the same information, but in relation to tenant complaints. Section 9 includes the learning section, which has just been referred to as well. I've taken all my thunder. Section 10 finally details the Ombudsman decisions that we've received over 25-26, and to note that there's only 3 complaints that have been upheld. Annual report also includes examples of where complaints have not been accepted for various reasons. Quite often that's because they fall outside the scope of that particular procedure, like, for example, councillor code of conduct complaints, things like that. That's largely it, and I was just going to refer you to the recommendations, which are for Cabinet to approve the annual report, the self-assessment and the governing body's response.
Thank you. Any other members on the floor wish to make a comment? No. So can I take you to the recommendations on page 67 and 68? 1, approve the annual complaints performance and service improvement report 2025 to 2026. 2, approves the self-assessments against the complaints handling codes. 3, approves the government's body response to the annual complaints performance and service improvement report 2025 to 26. Do you agree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Right, Item 7, Financial Monitoring Report, Provisional Budget Outturn 2025 to 26. I'm going to go to the portfolio holder, Councillor Jeremy Heron first.
Thank you, Leader. Well, as you can see, with our provisional outturn report for 25-26, the Council remains in a strong financial position. I am delighted with this. Some may say, looking at some of the outturn reports of some of the organisations that we're going to be teamed with, that we shouldn't. We should be a little bit more heavy with our expenditure, but I genuinely believe in sound financial management. I can't get away from it. It's in my blood, it's in my bones. We stick to it, and I am proud that this organisation sticks to that ethos. The result with it was that we had a provisional surplus of 591,000 on the general fund, and this has enabled us, most importantly, I think, to set up the staff retention reserve. This was something that I have wanted to do for some time, and I think that it's good that we have now identified the money to do so. As Councillor Wade has already implied, we are in difficult times with LGR. We are a changing and evolving council in ways that 2 or 3 years ago we perhaps would never even have imagined. It is important that we support our staff through that and ensure that we continue to deliver the services right up to the very end that our people deserve in our area. And I'm not going to want us to fall over on that in the last days of our administration. So it is very important. The other part of that was the surplus of 880,000 from the HRA, which we have used to reduce the capital financing on that. Once again, this report shows positive financial management, and I am very pleased with it. We continue to support our capital investment of 44 million, unlike Southampton, I think, are borrowing again, aren't they? Did I say that out loud? Upon my soul. What a mistake. So, yeah, no, I am very pleased with the report and how it comes, and I hope that the council and our wider community equally are.
Thank you. I would now like to take you to Alan Bethune, Strategic Director of Finance. Alan.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to add, from my perspective as the Council's statutory responsible officer, I'm also pleased to see that the overall positive position has been presented, both in terms of what I'd consider relatively minor surpluses across both the General Fund and HRA, but also in terms of the value of the capital programme that's been delivered. I think all items there are a good outcome. Just by way of some additional information, so the finance team are currently working with service managers and budget responsible officers this month just to work through the position, essentially to confirm the savings that are either one-off or the savings that can then contribute towards our 27-28 financial position, which, just as a reminder, we're currently looking at a deficit of 1.499 million for 27-28. So the recommendations were within the report. So we propose to use the surplus in what I consider a prudent and strategic manner rather than supporting ongoing expenditure, just because it's a bit of a windfall, if you like, in terms of getting a year-end position. Portfolio holders touched on the staff retention reserve, so I think that's a really sensible move, as I think is the adoption of a principle of trying to reduce our interest payments within the housing revenue account. I will just say that we're working on a provisional basis here, so obviously we still need to go through our annual audit process. But yeah, overall pleased with the financial position, and I think both positions help us prepare for our future and organisational challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of Jeremy, you wish to come back?
Apologies, can I just come back, because I did miss one very, very important thing off, and that is the fact that this is only delivered because of the exceptional staff that we have across all services delivering this. And my thanks, as always, go out to them, because without their support and their hard work, this couldn't come through like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, noted. Cabinet, do you have any other comments? Right, I will open it to the floor. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, and I totally agree with Councillor Heron's comments about our staff and all the hard work they do on behalf of the authority. It's really interesting to see that once again we have a huge underspend and huge amounts of extra income. We do. It happens every year on year. That is a statistical fact in this council. But it is what it is. The one question that I would say is that the last few years, our car parking income has gone down. And I would suggest that it might be a good idea to revisit the calculation where you look at when you raise a price, you get dropout. And if we amended our raising a price to take out to a dropout rate, we probably wouldn't lose budgeted car parking income because we will budget it differently. And that's it's just a statistical bit of scientific advice.
Thank you for that. Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Sorry, but revenue continues to rise. What we do is we don't meet the expectations as is slightly reduced compared to that, but I think that's a trend. I would like to point out that we continue to overachieve for that. We were at 4.7 million, we're now over £5 million worth of revenue for car parking. And whilst delivering that revenue, we still remain one of the cheapest places to park in the country, let alone in the area. And if Councillor Wade would like just to pop along to Eastleigh and park for a couple of hours, he would really and truly appreciate the bargain that we offer both our residents and our visitors.
Yes, I'm going to experience that. I'm at conference in Bournemouth next week for 3 days. Parking is going to be a nightmare and very expensive. So, anybody else on the floor? No? Can I then take you, Cabinet, to the recommendations on page 197 and 198? Do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 9, Housing Annual Compliance Report. I would like to take to Steve Davis.
Thank you very much. I am absolutely delighted to be presenting this report. A significant amount of work has gone into it. It makes significant points, particularly with regard to what we are to be known as the Big Seven, which are the major measures we do for our business, our buildings. One particular measure is asbestos. Now, asbestos, you'll be pleased to know, is something that we rather do well at in this district council. It is not a statutory requirement, as opposed to all the other big measures. It is one that we do over and above what's expected of us. Whenever we go into a void, or whenever we go perform any maintenance in a house, we check on the asbestos levels. So we have a clear picture of any risk or any concerns that can be taken on board. So I commend the service manager for including this item, and it's something we should all be very pleased with. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to now take you to Ben Close. Welcome to your first Cabinet, who is Service Manager, Mechanical and Engineering. Ben.
Thanks, Chair. The annual compliance report was presented to EMT in May 2026 and the Housing, Communities and Overview and Scrutiny panel in June. And this provides the highest level of assurance to date and was positively received and scrutinised by members. Highlights include 91% of home condition survey coverage, with a plan to reach our 98% KPI over the summer. Very strong levels of repairs performance despite increased demands and improved tenant satisfaction measures. The new TSM for electrical safety has been introduced, and just for assurance, we're currently sitting at 99% electrical safety for our housing stock. Our coverage of domestic asbestos surveys is at 52%. Although this is non-regulatory, we are going above and beyond, as Councillor Davies stated. with a programme to get to 98% by 2027. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Well done. Cabinet, do you have any other comments? No? I'd like to go to Councillor Steve Clark.
It was a pleasure to chair this part of the panel last time and receive reports. I think it amazes me, and I think it should amaze every member, that the sheer logistical exercise of combining all these different areas of compliance, and it's not just the big seven. There's a lot more to it than that, and bringing together all the different people, the trades, etc., so that we actually achieve what we achieve. And that's in a climate where things like electrical qualifications change on a fairly regular basis. So the skill base that we need from our staff, from gas, electricity, etc., is ever challenging. And our contractors, of course, have to be up to speed as well with everything. So I think we really should be congratulating every element of the overall team that goes together to make this work, because it is a truly complex exercise, and I wouldn't want to be the boss of that. And he's come here as new today to do it. So congratulations on taking on that role, and congratulations to the whole team, though.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Yes, it is a very good report, and it reflects the high standard that our housing team operate. I think the challenge is, because I know certainly some tenants in my area are concerned, how this goes into the future. And our challenge must be as an authority to wave the banner so highly that for both unitaries, because we will end up in bits in two unitaries, move to our standard. And I think that is the challenge. How do we do that? Because the key thing for a legacy of this council, this is what I believe, is that we leave our residents in the best possible, not only the best possible position now or then, but the best possible future. And to do that, we need to work very hard with the new emerging councils to keep this standard up. Because it's well done to the team, actually.
Don't worry, I'll be screaming from the highest mountain about our housing. Anybody else want to make a comment? No. Can I then take you to the recommendation on page 214? Cabinet, do you agree?
Agreed.
Wonderful. Right, item 10, SAMP and the Action Plan Progress Update. What is that? Jeremy.
Thank you, Leader. I don't like to reduce it down to SAMP. I like it as a strategic action management plan, simply because to reduce such a huge amount of work into a tiny little acronym just seems unfair to it. When we were looking at this, particularly in light of LGR and the potential for what we could achieve within the last 2 years of this administration, this council, and it became quite apparent that this is far more complex than anybody would ever have imagined. And my hat is taken off to the officers dealing with this, because we are not just untangling in some areas 50 years of this authority, but we are looking at land that was transferred into us with 100+ years of history attached to it and legal documents. And as a consequence, it is a most challenging area. As you will see, we have looked at the refurbishment of the public conveniences and the rebuild initially of 4, reducing that down to 3 within the first contract, on account of the fact that the Tottenham toilets, although they will be rebuilt, they will obviously fall under the Tottenham regeneration project rather than within this particular area of work. That is, and there is a need to be pragmatic as we go forward with this, because we could talk about a lot of things and deliver nothing. It is better to find what we can deliver effectively and efficiently, deliver that, and then come back to some of the harder questions. And that equally has been applied to the potential asset transfer of the town and parish councils. As you are aware, the town and parish councils put forward some of their ideas. Again, some of these, backed up with history, long-standing, are very, very complicated. We could have spent a lot of time trying to unravel and deal with those and effectively achieve nothing. What we have done is put forward those which are relatively simple and deliverable. We hope to deliver those. That does not mean that list is closed. That means that we have delivered something rather than talking about a lot of very complicated issues and delivered nothing. With that, I think I've said all there is. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I take us to our officer, Paul Thomas, Regeneration and Assets? Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'll just outline some of the pillars or the strands of the SAM, because it is quite a detailed document. So there's a digital asset management strand of the pillar, which is basically saying we need to get our house in order in terms of the digital information on all our assets. That includes valuations, land gazetteers, mapping, UPRNs and everything else. That is part of making sure that we're ready to go into the two new authorities. And I can say with some confidence from the KPMG work, we're pretty well ahead of that. And I think some of the other local authorities engaged are, well behind on that piece. The asset optimization is all the work, facilities management, keeping all the buildings up to standard and making sure they're in a good condition also. So over 400 assets that this council owns in the corporate asset general fund kind of sphere, which is a whole range of things, harbours to, the offices that we're sitting in now. It's to make sure that they're in a safe and legal position, much like housing, as a lot of the compliance measures apply to those as well. And that's another stream of work. Environmental sustainability, so that's things like the leisure centres and the decarbonisation funds that we get and large investments to make sure that they're fit for the future as well. Again, very similar to housing and the overall government's decarbonisation agenda and the council's own targets, and linked to environmental sustainability. And essentially, it's supporting economic growth as well and partnership working, which includes the town and parish councils and some of the work in there. So whilst this is an overview of a year's work, the Strategic Asset Management Plan is a year old, just about now, approved by Cabinet last year. The main purpose of this report is essentially to get us to green light and put into contract the the public toilets refurbishment and to progress the next stage of the community asset transfers, along as noted in the report. So we're asking for decisions on those two items so we can move to the next stage. We have got a time pressure, I think, in regard to a potential Section 24 notice, which may make this more complicated if we don't get these services, these new projects underway before those impacts take effect. And I'll just add that the SAMP was a little bit, written a year ago. It really didn't take into full account the full consequences the local government reorganisation would have. And we're just starting, having finished the KPMG works, we're just starting the wider Hampshire work of preparing to transfer the assets and map all this data and to make sure that the assets are transferred in a fit and legal state into the two new authorities. So that's it for now, I think.
Thank you. Very comprehensive for just a small acronym. Cabinet, do you have any further comments? None. I will take it to the floor. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you. Just for the sake of accuracy, Hythe and Dibden Parish Council didn't ask for two car parks, as states in the papers. One was a very small compound that's next to a car park, has nothing to do with it, and the other was on behalf of the church with Oak Road car park, which they currently lease. Now, the point I want to make is, I think Councillor Heron said, as was said before, that you may be revisiting some of these within the life of this council. And I totally understand that resources in this moment and going forward are going to be critical, and there's a lot of work involved in transferring assets. But I would suggest that it is to the advantage of the New Forest people and the New Forest councils that we at some stage in the future find time to look at some of these requests again and see if we can support them, because it will be for the future benefit of the town and parish councils in this district that will outlive us and still be delivering services for New Forest people to have some of these assets transferred. So I just put that out there that I really need to look at it while we still can.
Okay, we will take those comments on board, but you must understand sometimes what looks a simple job ends up with about 4 different solicitors, 5 covenants and a piece of land that you think, how the hell does that come about? Right, Councillor, can I go to Jeremy first?
Can I just answer that, Councillor Wade? I appreciate how very important your town and parish is. I can assure you that a number of other parishes have also very much lambasted me and told me how very important and at the top of the list their individual priority is, not least Ringwood, but others as well across this district. I appreciate that everyone close to the ground, especially if you are part of your town and parish council, is very, and rightly, fights for its town and parish. But I have got 20 or 30 things that everybody from different towns and parishes have told me should be right at the top of my list.
We will get to it, Jeremy. Councillor Steve Clark.
Yeah, I think again, from the town and parish point of view, they need to have a certain caution with what they wish for, because it seems simple, doesn't it? Where everything that's a local asset is given to us. But what about the cost factors as well? And who's going to be responsible for that? And I know Paul is working all those incredible sums out now. And so it is a really complex issue. And take toilets, for example, and I'll use the New Milton example. Unfortunately, although it's a nice modern block, you can't control the users. And I think it has somewhere in the region of about £70,000 worth of repairs each year, and that's just our toilet block in New Milton. So it's a real sort of problem, I think, for towns and parishes. Yes, we need to keep these facilities. We need to have local facilities, but what about the cost that gets transferred to them? What are the risk factors for the towns and parishes when we do this asset management transfer? And I think, again, this is such a complex problem that although Paul's under time constraints because we've got to meet certain deadlines, I think we need to be looking to see how we support the towns and parishes in actually doing a good financial assessment themselves so that they can plan for the future, because they've got to think about their precepts as well when these assets come across. And a lot of people are saying, we need to have this, we need to have that. It's not that simple.
I know it's not that simple because poor Paul's going grey. Anybody else wish to comment? No, then can I take Cabinet to the recommendations, which are 3 of them on page 253. Do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you. Right, we have done our business today. Thank you, officers, for attending and walking us through various situations. Thank you for the people online watching and Cabinet. I now declare this meeting is closing. Thank you.